Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different.
Yeah, we're really shifting gears this time around.
Right. I want to, transport you. I want to take you out of your car or your gym or your kitchen and just drop you into a very specific time and place.
A highly specific, very sensory place.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want you to close your eyes for a second, assuming, you aren't driving a forklift or operating heavy machinery.
Please keep your eyes open if you're driving.
Yes, safety first. But if you can, imagine a texture. Red velvet. Plush, deep, crushed red velvet. Now, I want you to layer on a scent.
It's a heavy one.
Very heavy. It's the smell of expensive French perfume, maybe Joy or Shalimar, mixed with the sharp, acrid bite of cigarette smoke. The air is just thick with it.
And the lighting.
The lights are low, amber-hued. It's that kind of lighting that makes everyone look just a little bit more beautiful than they actually are. The music is loud, thumping right in your chest, and everywhere you look there are wide lapels, chiffon dresses rippling as people move, and the glint of crystal glasses catching the light.
You are painting a very vivid picture here. We are at Annabelle's, aren't we?
We are indeed at Annabelle's nightclub in London. It's the mid-1970s. We are the absolute epicenter of cool. And we're here to talk about a story that captures the zenith of that era and the dark, crumbling hangover that followed. We are diving into the source material known as Famous Once.
This is such a compelling source text to look at because it isn't just a simple biography. It operates on two distinct timelines.
Right.
We have the absolute dizziness of 1974, the rock stars, the models, the sheer excess of it all, and then we have the stark, cold reality of 2025.
It's a story centered on Astrid Lane and Callum Blake. And if those names sound like the quintessential couple, well, it's because they are. They were the golden couple.
The ultimate icons of that decade.
But our mission today isn't just to recount their love affair or look at the pretty pictures. We need to unpack a mystery. Because there is a secret buried in this story. Literally recorded on magnetic tape. A secret that sat gathering dust for 40 years.
And when we analyze this, we're looking at something very specific. The difference between the public performance of glamour and the private reality of trauma.
Yeah.
We're going to see how power dynamics in the music industry, specifically the role of the manager, could silence the truth for decades. And we're going to look at how that silence rots a family from the inside out.
So here is our roadmap for the next hour. We're going to start in the 70s with the rise of Astrid and Callum. We'll look at the triad dynamic that defined their relationship because there was always a third person in that marriage.
Always.
Then we'll hit the tragic turning point, the mysterious death of Lily Morehouse.
From there, we'll jump 40 years into the future to 2025. We'll see where our characters are now. Spoiler alert, it's not all private jets and champagne anymore.
Not even close.
We'll discuss a break-in, a daughter's quest for truth, and a box of old cassette tapes that holds the key to absolutely everything.
And finally, we'll get to the resolution. Justice delayed and an unexpected family reconciliation. It is a wild ride, so buckle up.
Let's start at the beginning, the meeting.
Okay, so the source material paints this incredibly vivid picture of Astrid Lane's life in 1974. She's a top model. She's living with another model named Bridget. And the description of their apartment is just chaotic perfection.
Utter chaos.
Clothes everywhere, makeup scattered on tables. The phone is literally off the hook.
It establishes the youth and the carelessness of the time so well. There is this great detail where Bridget is walking around the apartment in nothing but a tiny pair of red silk panties.
Yes, and she's yelling at Astrid to get her glad rags on because they're going to Annabelle's to meet George and Patty.
That's George Harrison and Patty Boyd, presumably.
Right.
It immediately calibrates the level of celebrity we are dealing with. These aren't just people, they are icons. They are the royalty of London.
But Astrid is tired. She's been shooting with David Bailey all day. She just wants to sleep. But then Bridget drops the bomb. The name that changes the trajectory of Astrid's entire life.
Callum Blake is going to be there.
Callum Blake.
The former lead singer of the Leopards. He's gone solo. He is arguably the biggest rock star in the world at this very moment. And according to the tabloids, he's just split up with his previous girlfriend. He is single.
So naturally, Astrid drags herself out of bed. She puts on a Halston dress, because of course she does, it's 1974, and they head out. And when they get to Annabelle's, the description in the source is just sensory overload. Louis the doorman kissing them on the cheeks. The dark, cozy intimacy of the club.
It's a place where the famous go to be safe from the public, but to perform for each other.
Oh, that's a great point.
It is a crucial distinction. They aren't hiding. They are on display for their peers. And as they approach the table, we get our first look at the dynamic that will define the rest of their lives. Callum is there, looking incredible. But sitting next to him is a man named Vic Roth.
Vic Roth. I want everyone listening to pay close attention to this name. This guy is a piece of work right from the jump. He introduces himself to Astrid as the power behind the throne.
That phrase is so telling. He manages Callum, he's the businessman, the fixer, the guy who makes the money, but the source material makes it clear immediately he is a predator.
It's visceral. Astrid sits down, and Vic immediately puts his hand on her leg. She moves it, he puts it back higher. He's testing boundaries instantly.
Yeah.
And then he says, and this line absolutely made my skin crawl when I read it, he says, "Do you know how many women would pay to have Vic Roth's hand on their leg?"
Ugh. It establishes the triad dynamic we are going to see throughout this entire deep dive. Vic is the power broker who believes he owns the talent, and by extension, the women around the talent. Astrid is the prize, and Callum is the asset.
The asset, exactly.
Vic believes that because he controls the money and the fame, he owns the people. Astrid is just a perk of the job in his eyes.
But Astrid isn't having it. She gets up and goes to the bathroom to escape this creep. But Vic follows her. He corners her in the corridor. He pins her against the wall. He's drunk. He's aggressive. He's grabbing her. It's a sexual assault in progress.
And notice the physical description here in the text. He's described as fleshy. He's heavy. It contrasts so sharply with the description of Callum and the models, who are all angular and beautiful and ethereal. Vic represents the ugly heavyweight of the industry.
And then the hero moment, or, well, what looks like a hero moment, Callum Blake appears.
He pulls Vic off. He tells him to stop. But look at Vic's reaction. This is what we really need to analyze. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't seem ashamed at all. He says to Callum, "It's only because you're my favorite rock star that I'll let you have her."
Let you have her. That phrasing is just.
It tells you everything about Vic's worldview. Women are currency. He isn't respecting Astrid's autonomy. He is granting a favor to his client. He is transferring property. It's chilling.
It really is. But for Astrid, in that moment, Callum is the white knight. He saves her, and he immediately takes her away from that toxicity. They leave Annabelle's and go to a place called La Chasse.
And this is where the romance really starts. And, often with these rock star stories, you expect it to be just physical. You expect them to look at each other and say, "You're beautiful, I'm famous, let's go." But the source emphasizes that it wasn't like that.
No, it was deeply intellectual. They sit on red velvet banquettes, more velvet drinking coffee, and they talk about astrology. Astrid is a Gemini, Callum is an Aquarius. They decide this is a cosmic match.
They talk about transcendental meditation. Callum had been to Wales to visit the Maharishi. They talk about ego death and psychedelics.
It's that very specific 70s seeking of higher consciousness. Astrid is surprised. She expects a giant ego from this massive rock star, but she finds someone curious. She tells him, "You're not what I expected." And he says, "I'm interested in you, Astrid Lane."
It's the beginning of the golden couple. They seem perfect, they are beautiful, they are smart, they are spiritual, and eventually this profound connection leads to the wedding in Ibiza.
Oh, the description of this wedding. If you have a vision board for the ultimate bohemian wedding, this is the source code. A whitewashed finca, the sun setting over the olive trees, the smell of pine and rosemary in the air. They have a priest they befriended in Bali officiating the ceremony.
The Rolling Stones' Wild Horses is playing in the background. Astrid is wearing Aussie Clark chiffon. It sounds like an absolute dream.
And there's always a but with these stories. There's a massive lie at the center of it.
A massive structural lie. We find out later in the source that this wedding wasn't actually legal.
Let's unpack this because this is a huge betrayal. It turns out the marriage wasn't legal under Spanish or English law.
Correct. The source reveals that later, when things inevitably fall apart, Callum and Vic argue that the ceremony was spiritual, not binding. Vic Roth, the manager, likely orchestrated this entire thing to protect Callum's assets. It was a performance of a marriage. It wasn't a legal contract.
That is heartbreaking. You have Astrid there thinking she is committing her life to her soulmate, thinking she has the legal protections of a wife, and the men in her life are treating it like a PR stunt or a temporary arrangement.
It speaks volumes to the power imbalance. Astrid wanted domesticity. She really wanted to grow vegetables and raise chickens. She wanted the Earth Mother life at their country estate, Latchkey Farm.
And Callum
was the portable parent. He was the rock star on the bus. He was touring America. And this brings us to the tapes. This is a crucial plot device we need to introduce now. Callum recorded everything.
He had a reel-to-reel recorder, right?
Yes. He would record his thoughts, his fears, his songs, and he would record love letters to Astrid while he was on tour. He actually sent these tapes to her.
It sounds romantic on the surface. But Astrid notes in the source that he sent so many so often, it felt like he was just offloading his guilt. Like if I send her a tape of me talking about my feelings, it magically makes up for the fact that I'm not there and probably sleeping with other women.
Exactly. It's performative intimacy. And Astrid admits she often didn't even listen to them. She'd just toss them in a box, which, as we'll see, is a ticking time bomb.
So we had this tension building. Astrid is at home with her young daughter, Zara. Callum is on the road recording his life on tape. But they are still holding it together until the night of the party, the turning point.
The death of Lily Morehouse.
This is the shadow that hangs over the entire story. It's roughly 1974, 40 years prior to the main narrative timeline. There's a party at the house, and Lily Morehouse, an 18-year-old girl, drowns in the pool.
And the official story, or at least the lack of a coherent story, is that it was a tragic accident, a case of misadventure at a wild rock star party. But notice the shift in atmosphere described in the source after this event. Before Lily's death, the drug use was described as happy hippie stuff. Joints, hashish, expanding the mind.
And after?
After Lily dies, the mood darkens entirely. We move to cocaine on smoked glass coffee tables, heroin, quaaludes, numbing agents. The source describes a deep skepticism about the value of life, a feeling of why not drown yourself in whatever you could find to numb the pain.
That is a profound shift. The death of Lily Morehouse effectively killed the 60s dream for them. It ushered in the dark side of the 70s, the pure nihilism.
And it destroyed the family dynamic completely.
Yeah.
Callum withdrew into touring and women. Astrid withdrew into vodka and isolation. And stuck in the middle of this toxic wasteland was their daughter, Zara.
Zara describes herself later as being raised by wolves.
It's such an evocative phrase. Her dad is unpredictable and angry. Her mom is disinterested and intoxicated.
It's a classic trauma response. The parents are carrying a secret, or at least the tremendous weight of this event, and the child is a collateral damage. Zara learned to be invisible because her parents were simply too unstable to rely on.
And the final nail in the coffin for the romantic relationship comes from the tabloids, specifically the News of the World.
Rock star's secret love child. That was the headline.
Ugh, the ultimate cliche, but devastating in reality. Callum had a child with another woman. Callum Jr.
And this broke the illusion for Astrid once and for all. She could handle the rumors, maybe even the one-night stands on tour. But a second family, a permanent living reminder of his betrayal. That was the end.
So the Gorham couple splits, and Vic Roth ensures Astrid gets almost nothing financially because, as we mentioned, the marriage wasn't legal. And now we fast forward 40 years. It is 2025.
And the picture of Astrid Lane at 60-something it's poignant. It's really difficult to look at.
It really is. She's living in this crumbling cottage in Sussex. It's described as perfectly Astrid chintzy fabrics, white bedding, but the roof is leaking, the boiler is constantly broken, and there is this one detail that just stuck with me. She has to jiggle the knob on the stove in a very specific way just to get it to work so she can make her oatmeal.
That specificity is just heartbreaking. She was the most famous woman in London, wearing Ozzie Clark and Halston at Annabelle's. Now she's jiggling a broken stove knob and worrying about the bank closing her account due to lack of funds.
It's the universal symbol of making do. It's the friction of financial struggle. She's a former supermodel, and she's struggling to heat her morning porridge.
She's catering parties to make ends meet. She's working for people who literally used to have her poster on their bedroom wall.
It's a stark, unglamorous look at the reality of fame when the money runs out. She feels diminished. She relies on sleeping pills. She's deeply isolated.
But the world hasn't forgotten the 70s. In fact, they are obsessed with it. There is a huge retrospective launching, art shows, talks, and a new podcast.
And this podcast is the catalyst for everything that follows. Callum Blake gives an interview for it, and during this interview, he casually mentions the tapes.
He tells the host he recorded everything back then, and Astrid is listening to this interview in her car. She hasn't thought about those tapes in years. They're hidden upstairs in a box in her cottage.
And almost immediately after this interview airs, there is a break-in at Astrid's cottage.
Now, this is highly suspicious. Astrid comes home, or rather comes downstairs, and finds the spare room window completely smashed. But here's the thing. Nothing valuable is taken. The TV is right there. Her jewelry's there.
But the papers are rifled through. The cupboards are thrown open.
So what does this tell us?
It signals intent. This wasn't a smash and grab for quick cash by a local kid. This was a targeted search for information. Someone heard Callum mention the tapes on that podcast, and someone got very nervous.
This raises the stakes immediately. We go from a somewhat sad story about a woman struggling with aging and finances to a full-blown thriller, and this brings Zara back into the picture.
Zara Blake, the daughter. She is fascinating. She is the complete antithesis of her parents.
Totally. Astrid is chiffon and flowery vibes and denial. Zara is combat boots, stiff jeans, a minimalist apartment in the city, severe glasses. She's a journalist. She deals in cold, hard facts, not vibes.
They have a very tempestuous relationship. Zara barely texts her mother back. She keeps a rigid distance, but Astrid desperately needs money because the bank is calling about her overdraft. And Zara wants something in return.
She wants the story. She's been listening to the podcast retrospective too, and she's got completely down the rabbit hole about Lily Morehouse. Her journalist instincts are firing. She suspects foul play regarding the drowning. She wants to listen to her father's old tapes.
It's a pure transaction at first, money for access. But it's also Zara trying to finally make sense of her own trauma. Why did her childhood fall apart so violently? She thinks the answer is in that dusty box of reels.
So Astrid agrees. But before they can really get started on the investigation, the threat becomes explicit. And this scene gave me absolute chills. Astrid is in her kitchen, baking an orange almond cake, trying to make things nice and domestic for Zara's upcoming visit, and the doorbell rings.
She naturally expects it to be Zara. She doesn't even check the peephole.
And instead, it's a stranger. A man with an air of menace standing right on her doorstep. And he delivers a message.
Don't let a ghost ruin your final years.
Terrifying.
He demands the tapes on behalf of a friend. Astrid thinks on her feet, lies, and says she destroyed them years ago. But this encounter confirms everything. The tapes contain incredibly dangerous evidence.
When Zara arrives, Astrid tells her what happened. And instead of backing down or getting scared, Zara goes into full investigative journalist mode. She says, "Get the tapes."
This is the turning point for their relationship. They are no longer just estranged mother and daughter. They are now co-conspirators. They sit down with the reel-to-reel, or they use a digitized version to comb through the audio, and they listen.
And they find it. The needle in the haystack.
It's a recording of Callum confessing to Astrid back in 1974.
We need to hear what he said. Or, well, we need to read what the transcript said he said. Callum says on the tape he was drunk, everyone was drunk, and he was horseplaying, everyone was dunking everyone in the pool, and he held her down too long.
He being Vic Roth.
Vic Roth held Lily Morehouse underwater as a joke, and she drowned.
And then the cover-up. Callum continues on the tape. He made me swear never to tell a soul. So I'm telling you, because I can't carry the burden of the secret by myself.
Wow. So Vic Roth committed manslaughter. Accidental or reckless, sure, but still homicide. And he forced his client, his creation, Callum Blake, to cover it up.
And by extension, Callum made Astrid complicit by telling her. Even if she didn't fully remember listening to the tape or wanted to block it out with vodka, the knowledge was physically there in the house. It was the poison in the groundwater of their marriage.
So now Zara has the smoking gun. She has the clear audio confession. She decides she has to publish.
And this is where the character contrast shines so brightly. Astrid is terrified. She says, Vic Roth has connections to the Cray twins. She remembers the thug at the door. She is still living in the fear and the power dynamics of 1974.
But Zara's living in 2025. She tells her mother, Vic Roth is an old man. I'm a journalist. Once we go public, he can't touch us. She trusts the power of the press and the institution of justice, which her mother never could.
And she's absolutely right. They published the exposé. The fallout is immediate and massive.
Vic Roth is arrested. He goes to prison. He's described to the source as a pathetic shell of a man. The scary monster of the 70s is just a frail, elderly criminal now.
And Callum, this reaction is so interesting. He gets publicly castigated. People are furious that he hid this for 40 years to protect his own career.
But does he actually care?
Surprisingly, no. He claims memory loss. He basically says, I was off my face on drugs, I don't remember any of it. Which might be true, or it might just be a very convenient legal defense. But privately, he tells Astrid later that he's had an extraordinary life, and he doesn't really care what the public thinks of him now.
It's such a classic rock star attitude.
Yeah.
Cancel me, I don't care, I'm 80 years old.
Exactly. But The real resolution here, and this is the core aha moment of our entire deep dive, isn't about Vic Roth going to jail. It's about what the truth does to the women in this story.
Yes, the relationship between Astrid and Zara.
Before this entire ordeal, Zara looked at her parents as monsters. Careless, selfish monsters who chose drugs and fame over her well-being.
Raised by wolves, as she said.
But through listening to the tapes and through investigating the actual timeline of events, Zara realizes that they weren't just partying for the fun of it. They were deeply traumatized. They were carrying the immense weight of a dead girl and a highly dangerous secret.
It humanizes them for her. She realizes the heavy drug use wasn't just pure hedonism. It was a desperate escape from guilt.
And Astrid finally apologizes. She doesn't make excuses anymore. She looks at Zara and says, "I'm sorry I wasn't a good mother." And because of that honesty, she starts to heal, she stops drinking, she becomes truly present.
They become best friends, or at least very close collaborators. They move from being completely estranged to being a team.
Which leads us perfectly to the final scene, the reunion.
It's a celebration party at Zara's apartment. Astrid has cooked a massive Thai feast. She's still the caterer, doing what she loves. And guess who walks in?
Callum Blake.
He looks old, craggy, frail. But the source notes that for a split second, Astrid sees the vibrant young man she first met at Annabelle's.
It's a really beautiful observation on how we see the people we've loved, the overlay of deep memory on physical reality.
And the banter between them. They fall right back into it without missing a beat.
Yeah.
Callum admits Astrid is the absolute love of his life. He complains about his new young wife, who is apparently younger than their daughter Zara.
40 years his junior, and he complains that she can't cook scrambled eggs like Astrid.
The scrambled eggs detail, I love that. It's so domestic and intimate. It shows that despite the fame, the affairs, and the massive drama, their core connection was built on these small, everyday things. He says she doesn't stir them slowly enough.
It highlights that Astrid and Callum had a domestic intimacy that no one else can match. They shared a whole life, not just a spotlight.
And crucially, Callum isn't angry at Zara for exposing the secret and ruining his reputation. He's proud of her.
He puts his arm around her, Astrid stands on the other side, and we have this final tableau, the three of them standing together.
The family unit. Broken, battered, reshaped over decades, but finally, authentically together.
The expert analysis here is simple but profound. The secret was the rot. It was eating the structure of the family from the inside out. By blowing up the house, by exposing the ugly secret, Zara didn't destroy the family. She was the only one who could put it back together.
That is incredibly powerful. It really flips the idea of protecting the family name on its head. Sometimes you have to burn the public reputation to the ground to save the actual people.
Precisely. The truth was the only cure.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Famous Once, what are the key takeaways we should leave with?
First, the corrosive nature of secrets. You simply cannot bury trauma. It will inevitably grow in the dark and poison everything around it. Second, the illusion of the golden couple. The glittering public image of the 1970s was often a facade hiding deep dysfunction, addiction, and fear.
And third, redemption. Astrid starts this story popping sleeping pills and aggressively jiggling a broken stove knob just to survive the morning. She ends it confident, sober, and deeply reconnected with her daughter. It really shows that it's never too late to fix the narrative of your own life.
And finally, I have a provocative thought for our listeners to take away and chew on.
Hit us with it.
We look back at the 20th century at these massive cultural icons. The rock stars, the visionary actors, the powerful managers, we put them on pedestals, or in the modern era, we cancel them when things come to light. But this story asks a very specific question. How many other legends are currently protecting dark secrets that literally defined the cultural history of that era? And if those secrets came out today, would it destroy their legacy, or would it simply humanize their personal tragedy?
Ooh. That is going to keep me up tonight. That is a fantastic point to end on. Thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time.
And keep digging.